on the Newman Jets Audio Network. This is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by South Central Ceiling and Paving, online at SCSEALING.com. Mel Hambledon Ford, Pepsi, Allstate Insurance Agent Mike Light, Eck Agency, Donlinger Construction, Big Corner Creative, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, and by Overland Charters, the official transportation provider of Newman University Athletics. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
The Newman Jets baseball team returns home for a big weekend on Friday and Saturday, the last home series of the season for the Jets as they welcome in Rogers State. 1 o'clock first pitch Friday and Saturday. Not only that, but it's Senior Day Friday, then the long-anticipated Paul Sanagorski Day on Saturday to honor the legendary former NU head coach. And if that wasn't big enough, this is a huge series for the Jets against an old Heartland Conference rival, Rogers State, and would go a long way if the Jets can sweep to get them back into the MIAA tournament hunt. With that, we welcome you into the Jetcast episode number 43. Coming up on the show today, we say on the program, you hear it in the open there, this is for Newman coaches, players, administrators, and more. We've got a lot more for you this week. It's all baseball. We've got a Newman Athletics Hall of Famer, Kelly Gaul, coming up, and Rod Stevenson, a player, a former Jet on that 1983 NAIA District 10 championship team that finished third at the NAIA World Series. He is coming up as well, but of course we're leading it all off with the head coach of the Newman Jets, Drew Mouse. Coach, appreciate it. Obviously for you, this is a really big weekend. Obviously saying goodbye to some seniors this weekend, but obviously this Paul Sanagorski Day is a big one that we've been literally waiting years for at this point now. Hopefully it's going to get to happen, and I know that there's rain in the forecast, but going to be great I know it's been great for you to get to connect with all these former players, and if that wasn't enough, it's a real big series against a Heartland Conference rival.
Yeah, we're excited. I think 15 months that we've been waiting for Paul Sanagorski Day, just about. So it's good to actually to be here, be on the doorstep of that event. I think it's a great thing with the amount of people that we're expecting to be here for Paul Sanagorski Day, for our seniors to be able to see the admiration not only towards a former coach, but towards the baseball program in and of itself, and especially for the younger guys in the program to see how much love there is for Newman baseball. So
last time out for you, 2-1, couldn't quite get the series win at Pittsburgh State, split on Saturday, and then just didn't find the offense there on the Sunday. That was a series that was moved from Friday, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday. What were your thoughts on that close one against the Gorillas? And you've been talking about so many times this year putting yourself in opportunities to win series, and you did that again this weekend, but just couldn't quite finish it off.
Yeah, I thought especially in game 3, I want to say there was 3 innings in a row that we had an opportunity to score a run, just didn't come up with a big hit, and they did a really good job of just tacking on another run to kind of put us out of touch, which it's why they're a good baseball team. The same thing still needs to happen as we move forward. Just need to play better on defense and to keep throwing more strikes. Thankfully, this past weekend we got 2 games of a good outing on the mound. I thought Ryan threw okay in game 1, but we just had some lapses in defense and in the bullpen, and I think that can be corrected moving forward.
Split on Saturday, you've talked about how you have felt that this team has done a good job of not mentally checking themselves out of the season and of series. How big was it for you guys to come back and get that game 2 win, to give yourself a chance to win that series on Sunday because of that game 2 win on Saturday?
Yeah, I think there's times when our guys play a little too tight. Making a mistake leads them to playing tight. And I thought in the second game on Saturday, they did a really good job of just going out and playing and not worrying about necessarily what the score was at the end of the game, but just playing the best baseball that they can. And, albeit they end up winning a game playing
Sure.
that way. So
Funny how that worked.
Yeah.
Conor Langrel was a big starter for you in that Pitt State series. Started out the season in the bullpen, got roughed up against Missouri Southern, but came back with a season-high 8 strikeouts against Pitt State. What's been the biggest adjustment for him moving from the bullpen, and how nice was it to see him come back with a fairly decent start that gave you guys a pretty good chance to win that ball game against the Gorillas?
I think going from the bullpen where he's not throwing a lot of pitches and a lot of innings, we went 2 weekends in a row where he threw really well. And then I think he got a little tired after throwing that much in 2 back-to-back weekends, struggled, then had another good weekend, and then Missouri Southern, I think, caught up to him again. And I don't actually think he threw from watching him throw. Like, I don't think the performance was that bad. Now, obviously, the stat line wasn't good, but
For sure.
He was missing one pitch, and then the next pitch had to come in and actually throw a strike, and he gets hit. Whereas this weekend, similar story. He actually flipped it to where he didn't have his best stuff. Throwing wise, couldn't really get the curveball going, struggled with command on the fastball, but he competed and I think, kind of willed himself through the game to make sure that we could get outs, and I appreciate the performance in that manner.
Well, and another guy who didn't start well this year was Devin Beard, and he came back with a 6-hit series against the Gorillas, had 4 hits in Game 2, went 1 for 2 in the other games. Talk about the adjustments that he's made at the plate, and he's hitting the ball really, really well. Maybe the best series that he's had offensively. I didn't check the numbers. Maybe there's another one he's had more hits in, but in terms of putting hits together in 3 games, it might have been his best offensive series of the season.
Yeah, I think he missed, was it Northwest Missouri, I believe?
I believe that's
Northwest
correct.
Missouri with a groin injury. And I think since he's come back, he's been trying to do too much. And we've kind of talked to him about, I don't need you to be all conference. I just need you to be the best thing that you can when we need you to be the best thing that we can. And, he did that. I think there's a couple at bats where he let off an inning by getting on base, which is all we could ask for from him. And, that helped us, especially in Game 2, with allowing us to keep pounding and scoring more runs throughout the game.
Obviously, the games this weekend are big, and we're going to get back to those. But, it's more than just about the baseball this weekend. Once again, 1 o'clock on Friday and Saturday. Senior Day on Friday, Paul Sanagorski Day on Saturday. And I know that as part of this initiative, and one thing that you really talked about when I interviewed you the first time when you were introduced as the Newman baseball coach, was that you wanted to make a connection with a local alumni. That's something that Coach Ealing in his last years really started to focus on, was to build up that relationship, because there are a lot of Newman baseball players left. They're one of the most active alumni groups for Newman University. What's it been like for you as a new head coach coming in and making that connection and trying to build on it, and now obviously it culminating with Paul Sanagorski Day this weekend? What's that connection been like, building that with former players?
It's been really good. This past summer during COVID, we had happy hour Zoom with Coach Sanagorski, and I think there was about 10 or 12 guys that hopped on that. Chris Clausen, Kelly, Rod, Tad hopped on it as well, and getting to them and to know them, and really you talk to them for 5 minutes and you see the love that they have for Coach Sanagorski.
Rod will make it hard for you to talk to him for only 5 minutes.
Yeah. Rod and Kelly, there's no 5-minute conversation. Like you've got to make sure you're ready for that talk. But they love him. They love their time at Newman. They loved it, and obviously time has changed both. With the way that college athletics moves and everything like that. And I think that getting more players to campus, more former players, more alumni to campus, and then seeing other schools in the conference and see how they do things, I think will help them get more on board with what the school is trying to do, what the athletic department's trying to do. And then really, I know that Coach Sanagorski is in the Hall of Fame already, and, his number has been retired. No one wears 11. And, but showing that at the field is the biggest thing that when I took over that I thought we needed to do was, everybody talks about him like we need to show that we love him just as much as his former players do.
Sure.
And so we haven't really figured that whole thing out yet. But I think there needs to be appreciation for him at the field some way.
Well, and one thing that I did want to mention is you do have some field upgrades, and as you walk in now, obviously they've redone the kind of the Diamond Sports Complex out there, and it's affected softball as well. They've got a gate there, ticket booth, and then obviously the new pavement going to both fields for softball and for McCarthy Field for baseball. But there, as you walk by as a fan and for the players to get to their clubhouse, you walk by and you've got a plaque set up on the side there that's got some of the draft picks. Of course, the last one, Tyler Buckner to the Rockies. Fantastic player, all Heartland Conference player. And then you've also got a plaque for some of the Hall of Famers from the baseball program, including that 1983 team, including Sanagorski. So you've really tried to reference the history. What do you hope that your guys and the fans will take from that when they see that, when they come out to watch you guys play?
Well, hopefully that they take two things out of it. That winning is part of Newman, all right? And I know that especially last year and this year with COVID and everything like that, the wins haven't come in the actual win column on the page for us. But winning is part of Newman. There is a standard of excellence on the baseball field here that needs to be appreciated. And I think from the other side of it is when guys come back, they have a reason to come back. Even if it's to just, I don't want to use the word narcissist, but even if there's that ego that they need to fill, that they see their name put up on the wall out there, then so be it. But I want them to come out to the field. I want them to watch our game, come to practice.
Well, and they talked I think that talking from other perspective and from other Newman players, former Newman players, I should say, that I've talked to, they've talked about how the guys before them were at their games.
Right.
And so, that would be great to have the former players at your games as well. And then the players who are here now are coming back in a decade or two to just keep it all going.
Right. And I think that you take an appreciation as a player for someone that makes you want to be the best that you are for someone that was wearing the same jersey that you were. I think there's a reason that big league clubs have former big leaguers show up at spring training every year. There's a reason that the Braves hired Chipper Jones as a field roving instructor and Andrew Jones is because those guys did it at a high level and they can help promote the next era of players as well. So, and that's what we're trying to get. It's starting to get to that way. I know Kelly's come out to a couple of practices and scrimmages. I want to have more guys that are around here come out as much as they want.
So I guess real quick, because I got a couple other questions. If there's a former player out there that wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to try to phone, Twitter, email? How do they reach you?
I don't know. There's so many ways of social media now that I feel like there can't be one. Yeah.
Because you guys are on Facebook as well.
Facebook.
So what you're saying is basically just send you a message on social media. You'll reach back.
If I don't get the message, Braxton or Bailey will get the message, or Colin will get the message, and it'll get to us somehow, some way. Yes.
Yeah. So and Braxton and Bailey, they're on top of the social media. They've been still doing a fantastic job for you this year. I did want to ask you about Paul Sanagorski. I mean, with the day is named after him, I guess I got to ask you about him. What's it been like for you to make that connection with a former Hall of Fame coach that had so much success here and trying to duplicate that in obviously a much different era, NAIA to NCAA, but a guy that's still around, still works with Bishop Carroll baseball at the high school level. What's it been like to get to know him?
When you're an assistant coach and then you become a head coach for the first time, you kind of get this high, like I don't want to say elevated, but
it's a big
deal. Somehow knowledge just is supposed to go into your brain that that you didn't have as an assistant, and then you become a head coach. But the first couple of times I talked to him, there was a grounding. Humility was had, with especially, it's one thing to meet a Hall of Fame coach. It's another thing to meet a Hall of Fame coach who won as much as he did, who literally built the program from scratch and had the success that he did, and that you kind of get that that feeling of don't mess this up for him, and we plug away every day trying to make it better, and especially having Taylor with us last year, there was that daily reminder that this is what we need to do. I think this is how he would want us to play and everything like that. And he's in talking with him, he understands the change in college athletics since when he was coaching, but then every now and then he'll just give it as you still just need to play catch, and it's true. And there's thousands of ways that you can do that, but at the end of the day, you still just need to play catch. You still just need to make contact, and you still just need to run fast. So it's been a humbling experience to get to talk to him, and especially being around the area with how many people love him that just aren't necessarily Newman people, that just are baseball people in the area as well. So
seniors, obviously, big day for them on Friday as you guys will celebrate Senior Day with the doubleheader. What's it meant to you to have these seniors departing your program? Obviously, maybe the most challenging 2-year period maybe in the history of college baseball, having to deal with everything, a season that they lost, coming back, and obviously with you trying to start your program. What have these guys meant to you?
They've done a really good job with transition. I think there was a little hesitation early on, which is to be expected, especially when you're a senior. It's one thing if you're a sophomore or a junior and you've got more years. But I appreciate the effort that they've put in and working hard every day. And the constant ability to try to persevere no matter what. Weather's a problem. We're gonna keep going. I mean, especially the start to this year where it was weather, COVID, and
right.
First 3 weekends, and you're sitting there trying to make them feel okay, even though you're frustrated just as much as they are. But I think that they've done a pretty good job of trying to persevere through the season, trying to overcome some obstacles as we go through.
Last question for you. Obviously, you've said many times you're not really judging this season by the win-loss record, and there are definitely been some wins that have been on the table for you that you haven't quite been able to take advantage of. But looking at the MIAA tournament standings, MIAA conference standings, you're still in the thick of it.
Right.
If you can start on a hot streak here and win these last 3 series, you're going to have a shot. And it obviously all starts with Rogers State coming up. So what are your thoughts on the Hillcats and what you need to do to get this series win and give yourself a shot here moving into the last 2 weeks of the season?
I think if we can play the way we did in the Game 3 against Pitt State and Game 2 against Pitt State, we have a great chance over the last 3 weeks of the season. Now, I think it's not just going to be completely up to us. I mean, if they play well, it's going to be a grind. I think we have the ability to play well. Can we do it pitch after pitch,
of course,
every at bat, and everything like that? I think having the ability to still possibly make the conference tournament is something that we can play for. It's a target that we can try to achieve. But if we can go out this weekend really and play well, I think that shows a lot to the character of the guys in our program more than anything.
We'd love to have you out there as well. Senior Day, Paul Sanagorski Day this weekend. Of course, any of you guys out there who are looking to follow Coach Mouse on Twitter, Newman Jets Baseball, just search Newman Jets Baseball on Facebook. They don't make the social media links for Newman Baseball hard to find. So make contact. Love to see you out here for Friday, Saturday, the series, Paul Sanagorski Day and Senior Day. Coach Mouse, good luck. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We will be back with Kelly Gaul, a Newman Jets Athletics Hall of Famer, when we return on the Jetcast.
Hi, I'm Alex Stevenson with South Central Sealing and Paving. We specialize in parking lot maintenance. We do asphalt repair, crack seal, seal coat, slurry seal, concrete repair, striping. Heck, I'll do anything for money. My dignity can be bought. Do property management, trash pickup, snow removal. My kids gotta eat. And hey, if you need any carpet or anything like that, call my dad, Jeff Stevenson, at Harry Street Carpet. You tell him I look better than him on camera, he'll give you a 20% discount. We're South Central Sealing. Let us fill the cracks in your asphalt.
Back here on the Jetcast, of course, a big Newman baseball weekend, last home series of the season coming up as the Jets host Rogers State. And on Saturday, of course, 1 o'clock for the first pitch, and it is Paul Sanagorski Day. And one of the guys, probably the best player to ever play for Kansas Newman College under Coach Sanagorski, is sitting with me right here to my right if you're watching on the YouTube channel. We say in the open that this is for players, coaches, administrators, and more. And so Kelly Gaul is the and more of that equation. Late 80s baseball player, catcher for Kansas Newman College, first team All-American, first team All-District, All-Area, player of the year, and he's still the record holder for batting average, on-base percentage in a season for Newman University. So great to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Well, obviously, you are in, by the way, if that wasn't enough accolades, and he's got several other records that Coach sent me, but also a Newman University Athletics Hall of Fame member, class of 2015. What was it like to get your name called for that honor?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was an interesting class. There's been a lot of great athletes come through Newman, and just proud to be part of it.
Well, and from what Coach Ealing has told me, you guys, especially in that era, for whatever reason, not that the other eras have not stayed together as well, but he says you guys have stayed connected pretty well. What's that been like, trying to keep that connection with those teammates that you had on those great Newman teams?
Yeah, it's interesting because back in the 80s, you obviously had the 83 World Series team. Interesting dynamic, a lot of those guys, Rod Stevenson, who you're going to talk to later, Sam Biedron, Ronnie Douglas, Chris Clausen, a bunch of those guys, they used to come out and watch our games all the time.
Sure.
And it was interesting because you made a mistake and you didn't do things the right way, the Newman way, and the Paul Sanagorski way. Before you got off the field, they were already yelling. They were already on the fence yelling at you. Coach didn't really have to say a whole lot.
Right.
So we got to know those older guys, pretty well, and stay connected. And as far as my teammates, yeah, we still hang out. We play a lot of golf now that we're older, and Benny Harlow and I still umpire baseball. So.
Okay.
It's been nice and interesting dynamic because I moved away for about 15 years, came back this year, and picked up with some of my friends, Paul Miner, Benny Harlow, and some of those guys. Go play golf just like it was yesterday. It's a nice relationship to have.
Well, and what's it been like for you? Obviously, I guess for you this wouldn't be as easy, but now that you are back in Wichita, you remember having the guys before you that you watched. What's it going to be like for you is now that you're here, now you're going to have the chance as Coach Mouse builds his program to try to watch some of the new guys in the NCAA era.
Yeah, it's a different way of doing things today than it was back in the old days.
I bet.
Talking with not only Coach Sanagorski, because he still helps with Bishop Carroll and some of those other baseball programs, and Coach Mouse, I knew him when my oldest son finished up school at Henderson State, so I had some previous experience with Drew Mouse, and but yeah, you can't coach the same way you used to coach.
What do you mean by that? And like Coach Ealing said before we came on, you don't have to be political correct on this show. We like to have fun on this show. So what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, players we used to hold each other accountable quite a bit. Coach Sanagorski was infamous for a quote he said probably to every team he ever coached. When we didn't play well, we're out running, from the third base line to center field,
Sure.
I built this blankety blank field. I'll tear the wall down and we'll run to the damn dorms if we have to. Those kind of things. There's been a couple of games where we didn't hit real well. Our team in the late 80s was known for hitting very well.
Yeah, I know you were.
And, there were times in between, the first and second game of a doubleheader where and sometimes in the middle of an inning, the bats would just go flying out of the dugout because, he'd be mad and tell us we didn't go up there, we didn't need them, we weren't using them anyway. So with a few extra words that probably can't be repeated on your podcast here. But
we do appreciate that discretion.
but no, it was a lot different time, you know. I think it was, you know, hold each other accountable. Coach held you accountable to a different level, and you know, there's no entitlement back then, right?
Sure.
You know, you earned everything you got, and if you didn't earn it, you didn't get it.
Well, and I know that from talking to Coach Mouse, that accountability, player accountability, coach accountability has been something that he's wanting to bring into his program. What's it been like for you as you've gotten to know Coach Mouse, obviously, through his previous stop at Henderson State, and now, of course, now that he's leading the Navy in red?
Well, I think he's on the right track. It's you know, I think coaches today are a little bit hamstrung. You got a lot of club sports now that you didn't used to have.
Sure.
So kids are playing, you know, individual sports. About, you know, baseball is what we're talking about. So at the young age of 8, 9, 10 years old, they're in these club programs, and you know, the parents pay money, and all this kid knows is, you know, I'm dressed to the hilt, and I'm on this club team, and we travel, and you know, everybody's the best thing since sliced bread.
Got nice equipment,
and they don't know any different, right?
Sure.
You know, back in the day, we didn't have those, and you played multiple sports, and you spent time out in the sand lot, so to speak, playing with your buddies, and get your butt kicked once in a while.
Sure.
There's a lot to be said about, you know, no participation trophies type of like attitude, and it's good to get your butt kicked once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very understandable. So obviously, with a guy being recruited around, you know, NAIA baseball at that time, as NAIA baseball there in the late 80s was a pretty big deal. There were a lot of really good programs. How did you end up on your journey coming to Newman University?
Well, actually, I started off playing college football up in northern Iowa, and you know, was playing baseball and football, and got hurt playing football as a freshman. Decided to transfer to Clarinda, Iowa, another very big baseball.
Yeah,
town.
Clarinda A's, huge in the Mink League back in the day.
Yeah, the Eberly family has been really good to me through the, you know, the summer programs and even the JUCO there, and then actually recruited by Wichita State, and obviously at that time they already had Eric Wedge, so you know, had a visit.
He turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, they did, and it was funny because, you know, I went there. That visit didn't go very well. I called Coach Sanagorski that afternoon, the evening, and he said, "Come out tomorrow morning and we'll try you out." And next thing I know, I'm a Newman Jet.
You're a Newman Jet. Yeah, there you go. And not only that, but I know that your son and daughter also got to come to Newman University, so it's kind of a family thing now.
Yeah. My two oldest of the six went to Newman, and both graduated. So we're happy of that. And then we moved, so it wasn't quite as geographically convenient. But yeah, the oldest one, he played baseball here, and then finished up at Henderson State getting his master's.
Okay, very, very good. You know, what do you think? You mentioned kind of that Coach Sanagorski moment, or maybe I should say a tirade earlier on in the program. What are some of your favorite moments of being with Coach Sanagorski and just about being around in that era of Kansas Newman College baseball?
Well, I think Coach Sanagorski's kind of a really unique individual. He's got a very, very high baseball knowledge, but a very calming approach to the game with some definite fire sitting underneath there, that volcano.
Applied in the right dose at the right time,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, but probably some of my best experiences with Coach were obviously, you know, anytime I wanted to spend any extra time after game, after practice, hitting off a tee, doing soft toss, anything, he was always willing to stay and give you some pointers. And then, you know, back in those days, you know, we thought we were, you know, high on the hog, so to speak, because we had two 15-passenger vans and pulled a U-Haul when we'd go on road trips. And, you know, we never went on spring break, so to speak, like normal kids.
Of course.
We always went on baseball trips down through Arkansas and Oklahoma and things like that. So I got to spend a lot of time in the front of the van with Coach.
Sure.
You know, just talking while everybody else was sleeping or
right.
doing those other things in the back of the van. And, those are probably some of the moments I'll cherish most about just traveling with Coach and having just life conversations.
Absolutely.
He was quite a father figure.
Absolutely. Well, and I guess I'll get you out of here on this. Obviously, being Paul Sanagorski Day, wanted to have this last year but couldn't because of everything that's going on, and so we've been waiting literally years for this moment. What's it going to be like for you to kind of get everybody back together, see Coach, and have everybody out there on Saturday, and obviously important games for the Jets as well as they try to get their way back into the MIAA tournament picture, and could be a really great weekend if the Jets can win a couple of those games.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see some of the old guys. I know there's a lot of the older players from the 83 team that are still in the area. I don't know if a couple other buddies of mine between the 83 and 88 time period, Tad Druitt, for example, is a big Newman alumni as well in the Austin, Texas area. I don't know if Zane, do you know? We don't know yet if
he was coming.
Maybe.
Tad,
Okay.
Hopefully some of those guys.
Sure.
But yeah, that's that connection.
I mean, it's drivable from Texas, so as he watches this on Wednesday, there's still time to make plans.
Tad, we'd love to see you, buddy.
There will be hotel rooms available.
Yeah.
I hear that Coach Eling's buying, maybe. No? Okay, maybe not. So.
Yeah. But no, to that point, there's several times with those connections with those older players. I travel a lot for work, so when I'm in the San Antonio, Austin area, Tad we'll meet up and have dinner or something and catch up. But yeah, it'll be exciting to see a lot of those guys out there and see Coach again. I do run into him frequently now that I'm back in town. So yeah, we're excited. Hopefully we can get some things going.
Absolutely, and hopefully it'll start this weekend. 3-game set against Rogers State once again. The Senior Day festivities are going to be on Friday, doubleheader Friday, 1 o'clock, and then Paul Sanagorski Day. Last home date of the regular season at McCarthy Field, 1 o'clock on Saturday as well, and it's Paul Sanagorski Day. Kelly Gaul, he is a Newman University Athletics Hall of Famer, the first Hall of Famer outside of Billy Murphy. Billy Murphy is also in the Hall of Fame, bowling coach. You're the second non-current coach, first one of that class to be on the program. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here.
And he mentioned some of those other guys from that 1983 team. Well, we're going to talk to one of them, Rod Stevenson. He's coming up next on the Jetcast.
Fact is, every insurance company hopes you drive safely. But Allstate actually helps you drive safely with DriveWise. It lets you know when you go too fast and brake too hard, with feedback to help you drive safer, giving you the power to actually lower your cost. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about that. Now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
Check out your Allstate agent here in Wichita, Mike Light, at 316-684-0121. Advanced Orthopedic Associates and Dr. Brendan Lucas are proud supporters of Newman Athletics. Thank you to Donlinger Construction, proud supporter of Newman Athletics.
You like that bed music there?
Yeah, I do.
Pretty good. We do real production quality here on the Jetcast. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Wrapping up and again getting you set for Senior Day and Paul Sanagorski Day. Last home games of the regular season for Newman University coming up Friday and Saturday. 1 o'clock both days. Doubleheader will be on Friday. That's Senior Day. And then, of course, Paul Sanagorski Day as the Jets host the Rogers State Hillcats. Big games for the Jets as they try to climb back into the MIAA tournament race. Top 8 get to go to the MIAA tournament this year. So you just heard from a Newman University Athletics Hall of Famer. Now you're going to hear from somebody who actually played on that 1983 NAIA World Series qualifying Jets team, Rod Stevenson. And I actually got the lineup here. He actually brought in a bunch of scans. He's going to send it over. They're going to get it archived. But this is actually the program from and I know you can't see this great on YouTube, but he's actually got scans of the program, the lineup card. Looks like you were batting 7th as the DH in the World Series.
Well, at least it wasn't 9th, right?
I mean, at least you were on the team. So I mean that's worth a lot to me.
There's a story there. You know
what is the story?
When I first came on to Newman, and it's a long story, but without Paul,
I've got plenty of time.
Without Paul Sanagorski, I wouldn't have had a baseball career. I started I went to Garden City out of high school. I was cut as a freshman. I had to battle back and make the team as a sophomore. I played when we were way up or way down.
Sure.
But I learned the game, and that was Joe Slobko's team at that time. But Paul kind of rescued me from that, because between my sophomore and junior year, I didn't know where I was going to go. That summer, probably the last doubleheader that we had that summer, Paul was in the stands, and I try to recollect. I don't remember if I knew he was there or not, but I had a big day. I mean, I hit the ball well. I even, back then I was a small catcher, so I was a little bit fast for a catcher.
Sure.
So I had some stolen bases and hit the ball, and after I was the last guy at the ballpark because I'm a catcher. I got to gather all my stuff up, but I get to my car and there's Paul. And, I had been kind of lobbying with some of the guys that I knew, Villapando, Coaster, Maurer, some of those guys that had been playing for him. And I think they were there as freshmen, sophomores. Well, here we are getting ready to enter our line up a junior year. I don't have any place to go. And, nobody knows who I was because I didn't start and didn't play a lot at Garden City. So here I am in the summer, and, I've been asking those guys, hey, are there any slots? What do you think? And trying to lobby with those guys to get a good word in for me. Anyway, Paul's waiting for me in the parking lot and offered me a deal, kind of a, hey, I don't have anything yet, but, if you come on, I was a good student. I mean, I had decent grades and all that. So I started with an academic scholarship. He said, if you want to come on out there, we'll get you hooked up that way, and then we'll go a semester or whatever and maybe get you onto a baseball deal later. And I'm like, I'm in.
Sure.
So,
absolutely.
So that's kind of, how he rescued my baseball career. But, when I got there as a junior, I knocked a couple guys out. I mean, I started splitting time with a couple of them, and then, I hit my way into the lineup, and I was catching quite a bit.
Right.
Well, and then fast forward to our senior year, Brett Reynolds came in. I think he had left the University of Texas. His brother was in the big leagues. And, he's on the scene. I knew Brett because I played with Brett at Garden City.
Uh-huh.
All right. Brett was a player. He could hit. He had a big arm. All of a sudden, now Brett's catching.
Yeah.
And I'm relegated to DH. But, with that team, I was happy to be, in the lineup.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Going into that season, because, I mean, that 80s decade, I mean, a lot of Paul Sanagorski's teams were really good, but going into that season, when did you know, like, boy, we got a chance to be really good this year?
It's kind of, Paul was a great tactician. And I'll tell you, even in the recruiting end of things, he knew the pieces of the puzzle, I think, that he needed to be successful. I mean, he was successful way before I got there.
Sure.
And those guys were battling for the District 10 and everything in the NAI at that time before I ever got there. So when I came on, I knew the guys I was playing around. I knew Coaster and Mercer and Maurer and some of those guys that were going to be part of that group, and I knew this is a good team.
Yeah.
And, Paul's a good coach, but he made people – he put people in spots to be successful. I mean, he was a great tactician. He was a chess player when he was coaching against checker players. I mean, if you want to put that analogy to it. But
sure.
The guy, I think when we first started working out, I knew some of the guys that we were coming in there with, and playing against them, with them and against them in the summer, and I just knew that we had a really good chance before we ever played the first game through the first pitch. Well, these guys were good.
And after you got on the field, when did you take that premonition, like, hey, we could be really good, and then realize, like, wow, I mean, we are really good?
Again, we would go out there knowing we were going to win. I mean, that's the kind of confidence that he got us. Of course, preseason workouts, boot camp, and Kelly, everybody that's been through it knows what that's all about. You go through boot camp and you're feeling a little bit, armor plated anyway. You feel, like you're so stout. You're probably in the best physical shape you've ever been.
What? Explain to us, Paul Sanagorski boot camp. What's that? And Kelly, who was in segment 2, he's back there laughing. Yeah. So I need to hear this. What is boot camp if you're a Paul Sanagorski baseball player?
Oh man, I can remember laying out in the gym. It's of course it's wintertime then. You still got snow coming down and everything else. The wind's blowing. You're in the gym floor, and usually, I won't say the temperature's turned up, but it's not cool in there.
Uh-huh.
And you're all, you do these leg lift deals that I can remember Paul walking up to me in particular one time And he's like, man, for a catcher, you are so weak in the gut. It's like, do some of those. You're supposed to, you have a guy standing over you.
Sure.
And you got a hold of his ankles, but you're doing those leg lift deals like that. I don't know what they're called, but get you in the lower back, get you in the gut. And
yes.
And I'm one of the first ones to start folding my legs or doing it wrong. And he's like, what is going on? You're a catcher. I mean, you do that. You do a lot of lines, a lot of sprints, and we called those something else too. There was just a lot of training as far as just cutting weight, getting you chiseled to where you were ready to endure a season. And I can remember then pitchers and catchers, and Kelly would know that pitchers and catchers, road work. You're going to do that stuff, and then pitchers and catchers have their own thing you got to do.
Sure.
And I guess you could duck out of that, shy away from whatever, but if you do that, it's going to affect you later on, and don't ever get caught doing that.
Yes.
By your assistant coaches or whatever. So I feel good about having done the legwork with my pitchers because it kept me strong. You kept your foundation strong and kept your body tuned up.
Well, you talked about playing for Coach Sanagorski, and you mentioned how he's playing chess, everybody else is playing checkers.
Yeah.
And we've talked with Kelly and you kind of about Kelly talked about the life lessons that he got to learn sitting in the van, going on road trips throughout the NAIA.
Yeah.
What's the mental? You talk a little bit about the physical aspect of playing for Coach Sanagorski.
Yeah.
What's the mental aspect? How did he approach mentally, day to day, approaching the game, every at bat, or maybe in your case as part of the battery, every pitch?
Yeah.
What's that like if you're playing for Coach Sanagorski?
I keep going back. He put guys in positions to be successful. I think of a doubleheader at St. John's University, which they're not even on the map any longer. But back then, I can remember going down there. We were playing a soft lefty pitcher, and he knew this guy or knew about him, had seen him before, or whatever. And this is just an example, and it relates to me because that's what I remember. But it's the only day in my life I've ever hit 2 home runs in a ball game.
Okay.
But this lefty was working everybody outside. Well, my natural, I didn't pull anything. And it almost looked like when I was hitting, I was a mistake hitter because I would look for that pitch outside. And Paul knew that. I didn't catch a lot. And when that go around, Brett got most of the catching. I DH'd.
Right.
Relegated. We did some back and forth stuff, but that game I was catching, and that guy was working outside. Early in the game, I hit him over the right center field wall, and and I was on it. I felt good that day. Well, later on in the game, same deal. I think the guy thought it was a mistake, or my connection with that was a mistake, so he throws another one out there, and I did the same thing. They both left the park in the same spot, and Paul, he knew something about that, or I wouldn't have been in that spot. But he just, continually, he could tell the way you were working out, the way you were warming up. I think he could tell you really didn't know till he put the lineup card out there, what was going on.
Sure.
But I think that's because he was watching every little detail, and if you weren't particularly on it that day, he had a sense for that before the lineup card ever got posted. I mean, he might make a switch right then. I think he was successful because he just was paying attention all the time.
Well, Coach Ealing mentioned, a big deal for your team in particular was beating Emporia State.
Oh, yeah.
Being it, so we got to hear about this. So what was that like to finally get the Hornets, and then obviously tell us about the experience of getting here to the NAIA World Series, hosted by Lubbock Christian, which went on to become a Heartland Conference member as Lubbock Christian University with the Jets for over a decade. Yeah. But what was that like, beating Emporia State, getting over that hump, and then making the NAIA World Series?
There were 2 or 3. I mean the highlights. If you said what was the most memorable, there were so many of them. I can't remember them all, but there was one time I can remember being behind the plate, and they had a lot of speed guys. I can remember they had a guy at a real pivotal time in the game, and I didn't feel like I really had it that day behind the plate. I threw one of their fastest guys out, and it turned the game. I mean, it turned the entire day. In fact, it was kind of controversial at second base.
Close call.
I remember the umpire. Tim White was on the bases, and Bob Shearer was behind the plate, and Tim made the call at second base. I mean, it was bang bang. had the pitch right where I needed it, in stride, and I threw the guy out, and it shut the running game down, and it is like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because I wasn't back there that much, especially our senior year. I just, I kind of got relegated to the DH spot, which
Sure.
I hated it, but you got to look at what we're doing there as a team. That's one reason or way that we beat the guys we weren't supposed to beat. It's because we were a team, and we really loved each other. That team, we played together. If you look at the team picture, I think there's 19 guys in that photo. And if you look at, teams now are built, 35 guys?
At least, sure.
With a pitching staff of 15 or 18. We knew our role. And we accepted our role, and a lot of that, sometimes that was, hard to take. But, I think if you pulled the guys all the way up and down, we were winners. Every time we went out, we knew we were going to win. I mean, even when we got beat close. I mean, I don't think we ever really got blown out. When we were that year,
sure.
I think our record it's on there 30 and 30 something and 20. Whatever, out of 50 games, we went over 30. Guys knew that. We're going to compete, and we were buddies, so it was a team thing. You can take all the individual talent you want up and down. If you don't play together, if you don't like each other, you're probably not going to win.
Sure.
And, in the summertime, I do a college team in the summertime.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Kansas Cannons. So you're still kind of you're still involved in college baseball in your own way, collegiate wood bat league team, and that's been there have been some league changes for the teams in Kansas over the last few years, and obviously the NBC World Series has since you've started, because you started that team. I think I talked to you about that on the radio.
Right.
KGSO back in 2015, whenever that was. Yeah. But the NBC World Series since that time has really experienced a surge of growth. Yeah. So what's it like for you? Obviously, hoping that things are going to be a little bit more normal this season, I am sure. Yeah. But how's that like for you to stay connected with baseball, being the owner of the Kansas Cannons?
I love it. It takes enough time that I'm getting to where I'm trying to maybe offload a little bit of that just from the standpoint of the community over there. We play out of Augusta, and I'm trying to they want to take ownership, and I need to give them that at some point. But somebody did it for me growing up, and that's why I started the Cannons. I and another gentleman, Owen Johnston, 10 years ago now, I guess. Our first season was 2011. And just from the love of it, somebody did it for us. And when my boys were playing college ball, I thought, I need to do this. I wanted to do it.
Sure.
Probably from a personal, selfish standpoint. It had more to do with that. But, once the boys quit playing, I thought, I'm going to stay at this a little while.
Sure.
And just the thrill of that level of ball, those guys are such good athletes. It's just fun to be around it. It's fun to be around them and, throw it once in a while. And now I couldn't, throw a ball from me to you. But,
right.
It's been fun. It's just probably, I'm probably getting close to the time I need to think about what else am I going to do. But I've enjoyed being around it and watching these guys come and go. And we've had some Newman guys. And, it's just a blast to be able to watch them go. Very few of them are ever going to get paid to play. But
of course.
After that, it's like, okay, what are they doing? Some are bankers, some are lawyers, some are doctors, whatever. And it's just fun to see him move on.
Well, we're hoping that Coach Mouse is going to send you a couple more Cannons here in the next few seasons as well. Last question for you. What are you looking forward to? Obviously, Saturday, big day, and kind of going to get some of the gang back together, hopefully, and hopefully watch a Newman sweep over the Hellcats.
There you go. It'll be a blast. Hopefully that gives those guys a little bit of energy to know that we're sitting out there. But Clausen's flying into town. One of our draft guys. I don't know where Wango's at, but he was our shortstop. It was a draft guy, and with the group that's coming in, we don't get together that often. It'd just be a blast to see these guys again and know that everybody's okay. This COVID thing has been a big curveball for everybody, but hopefully we can soon get onward and upward, and the Jets can get back to prominence here. And the MIAA too, I think it's a good opportunity.
Absolutely.
For the guys to really have a good run here.
And the run to the MIAA tournament might begin this weekend. Once again,
Yeah.
Jets are going to be in position if they can sweep the Hillcats. 1 o'clock for Senior Day on Friday, and 1 o'clock for Paul Sanagorski Day on Saturday. Rod Stevenson, fantastic to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That is our show for this week. We'll be back. Of course, we drop these every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Like, subscribe, and share. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And so until next time, Blake Cripps saying go Jets.